I don't want them there, Jessica. They'll embarrass us in front of everyone. My mother-in-law's voice crackled through the phone, each word hitting me like a physical blow. The twins, they're just not appropriate for such an elegant event. I stood in my kitchen, gripping the counter so hard my knuckles turned white, staring at the handmade anniversary card my 8-year-old twins had spent hours creating. Emma and Ethan had poured their hearts into it, carefully writing each letter despite their physical challenges. Marie, they're your grandchildren, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. They've been looking forward to your 40th anniversary party for weeks. Looking forward to it? She scoffed. They can barely walk properly. Do you know how it would look to have them wobbling around the country club? My friends from the charity board will be there. I have a reputation to maintain. My name is Jessica, and at 35, I've spent the last 8 years fighting for my twins' right to exist in spaces where people like my mother-in-law think they don't belong. Emma and Ethan were born with cerebral palsy. While their minds are sharp as tacks, their bodies don't always cooperate. Every step is a victory. Every clearly spoken word is a triumph. Besides, Marie continued, her voice dripping with fake concern, it's really for their own good. All those people staring, judging. It would be cruel to subject them to that. I thought about my children's faces when they helped me pick out their special outfits for the party. Emma had chosen a purple dress to match her grandmother's favorite color. Ethan had insisted on wearing a bow tie, practicing for hours in front of the mirror to tie it himself. What about Michael? I asked, mentioning my husband. What does he think about this? Oh, Michael agrees with me, Marie said quickly, too quickly. He understands the importance of appearances. You can come, of course. Just find a sitter for the twins. I closed my eyes, remembering all the times Marie had excluded my children. The family photos they were mysteriously absent from. The holiday gatherings where they were relegated to a separate table for the kids, despite being the only children present. I'll talk to Michael about this, I said finally. There's nothing to discuss, Marie snapped. The invitations have been revised. I'll have them sent out tomorrow. After she hung up, I sank into a kitchen chair, my hands shaking. The twins were at physical therapy with Michael, blissfully unaware that their grandmother was systematically trying to erase them from family history. I pulled out my phone and dialed Lisa, my sister-in-law. Unlike Marie, she'd always been supportive of the twins, often standing up to her mother's discrimination. She did what? Lisa's voice rose in outrage when I told her. That's it. I've had enough of Mom's elitist garbage. Give me an hour. True to her word, Lisa called back exactly 1 hour later. Check your email, she said, a note of satisfaction in her voice. Remember last month when Mom was bragging about her charity board position at the Disability Foundation? I opened my laptop, clicking on the new email. Inside was a video from the Foundation's annual gala 3 months ago. Marie stood at a podium, tears in her eyes as she spoke about her beloved grandchildren and how they'd opened her heart to the challenges faced by disabled children. She used the twins to get that position. Lisa explained. Played the devoted grandmother card. The Foundation's main donor was impressed by her personal connection to the cause. Keep watching. The video continued, showing Marie accepting a substantial check for the Foundation, spouting platitudes about inclusion and acceptance. My stomach turned. The anniversary party, Lisa continued, is being held at the country club because the Foundation is covering half the cost. They want to honor her work with disabled children. There's supposed to be a surprise presentation. I sat back, the pieces falling into place. She's been using my children to build her reputation while simultaneously hiding them away. Exactly. But here's the thing. The Foundation's director, Mrs. Anderson, is a close friend of mine. She's been wanting to meet the twins for months. Marie keeps making excuses. A plan began forming in my mind. Lisa, can you get me Mrs. Anderson's number? Already sent it to you. And Jess, make her regret this. After hanging up, I looked at the handmade anniversary card again. Emma had drawn hearts all around the edges, while Ethan had written, "We love you, Grandma," in his careful, shaky handwriting. They'd worked on it for days, determined to make it perfect. I picked up my phone and dialed Mrs. Anderson's number. She answered on the second ring. Mrs. Anderson. This is Jessica Chen, Marie Mitchell's daughter-in-law. I think there's something you should know about my children's relationship with their grandmother. By the time Michael brought the twins home from therapy, I had everything in place. He found me in the kitchen, starting dinner. Mom called, he said, hovering in the doorway. Something about the party invitations being revised. I turned to face him, noting the guilt in his expression. Did she tell you why? He shifted uncomfortably. Jess, you know how she gets. Maybe it would be easier if. If what? I interrupted. If we hide our children away, pretend they don't exist so your mother can maintain her perfect image. That's not fair. No, it's not fair. None of this is fair. But I'm done letting her shame our children. I told him about the video, about how his mother had used our children to secure her position while simultaneously excluding them from family events. His face darkened with each word. She's gone too far, he said finally. What do you want to do? I smiled, checking my phone as a text from Mrs. Anderson came through. Nothing. We're going to let your mother dig her own grave. But keep your phone on tonight. You won't want to miss what happens at midnight. The twins rolled into the kitchen in their wheelchairs, chattering excitedly about their therapy progress. Emma had managed to take 10 steps unassisted, while Ethan had mastered a new grip technique. Can we practice our dance for Grandma's party? Emma asked, her eyes shining with hope. I shared a look with Michael before turning to our children. Of course you can, sweetheart. In fact, I think Grandma is going to be very surprised by your performance. As I watched them practice their wheelchair waltz, something they'd been working on for weeks as a surprise for the anniversary party, I knew Marie's midnight wake-up call would be one she'd never forget. I couldn't sleep that night, watching the clock inch toward midnight. The twins were tucked in bed, their dance outfits carefully laid out for tomorrow's practice session. Michael sat beside me in the living room, both of us staring at our phones. At exactly midnight, my phone lit up with a text from Mrs. Anderson. It's done. Seconds later, Marie's number flashed on Michael's screen. He put it on speaker. Michael. Her voice was shrill, panicked. Turn on channel 7 right now. Someone's trying to destroy me. We already had the TV on, watching as the local news station aired its midnight special report. The headline scrolled across the bottom. Local charity board member accused of discrimination against disabled grandchildren. The broadcast played the video from the foundation gala, followed by audio recordings of Marie's phone calls, not just to me, but to others, revealing a pattern of discrimination. The reporter's voice was appropriately somber as she detailed how Marie Mitchell, board member of the Disability Inclusion Foundation, had systematically excluded her own disabled grandchildren from family events while using their story to advance her social standing. How did they get those recordings? Marie demanded. This is slander. I'll sue them. No, Mom, Michael said quietly. You won't. Because everything they're showing is true, isn't it? I was protecting our family's reputation. You don't understand what it's like, having to explain to people why your grandchildren can't walk properly, why they need those awful wheelchairs. Those awful wheelchairs help my children move independently, I cut in. They're not an embarrassment, they're tools that give Emma and Ethan freedom. Jessica. Mary spat my name like it was poison. You did this, didn't you? You vindictive little. Mrs. Mitchell. A new voice joined the call. This is Patricia Anderson from the Disability Inclusion Foundation. I think we need to discuss your position on the board. The silence that followed was deafening. Patricia. Marie's voice switched to her sugar-sweet social tone. This is all a misunderstanding. If you let me explain. Save it, Marie. I've seen the evidence. The Foundation's mission is to promote inclusion and acceptance. Your treatment of your own grandchildren goes against everything we stand for. The board will be meeting tomorrow morning to discuss your removal. But the anniversary party, Marie protested. The Foundation is sponsoring. Not anymore, Mrs. Anderson said firmly. However, we would love to redirect that sponsorship to a special celebration honoring your grandchildren's achievements. I understand Emma and Ethan have been preparing a wheelchair dance performance. I could practically hear Marie deflating. A wheelchair dance, she whispered. Yes, I said. They've been practicing for weeks. They wanted to surprise you, to show you how far they've come. But I guess that doesn't fit with your perfect image, does it? The line went dead. Michael looked at me, a mix of emotions playing across his face. The party's tomorrow night, he said. What do you think she'll do? Probably try to cancel it, I replied. But Lisa and Mrs. Anderson have already contacted all the guests. They know the truth now. The question is, What are we going to do? Michael reached for my hand. We're going to that party. All of us. It's time Mom learned that family means accepting people as they are, not as she wants them to be. The next morning brought a flurry of calls and texts. Marie had indeed tried to cancel the party, only to learn that the country club was now hosting an inclusion celebration sponsored by the foundation. Lisa had worked through the night, transforming the event from a traditional anniversary party into something far more meaningful. Emma and Ethan were ecstatic when we told them the party was still on. "Can we still do our dance, Mommy?" Emma asked, her eyes wide with hope. "Of course, sweetheart. In fact, you're going to be the stars of the show." We spent the morning getting ready. Emma twirled in her purple dress, while Ethan finally mastered his bow tie. Their wheelchairs had been decorated with twinkling lights, transforming them from medical equipment into magical carriages. As we pulled up to the country club, I saw Marie and my father-in-law standing at the entrance. She was wearing her planned anniversary outfit, but her usual confident posture was nowhere to be seen. Instead, she looked small, defeated. "The twins are here," someone announced as we approached. A crowd gathered, led by Mrs. Anderson herself. "Emma, Ethan," she called out warmly. "Your Aunt Lisa has told me so much about you. I hear you've prepared a special dance for tonight." The twins beamed with pride, all their practice sessions finally having a purpose. Marie watched silently as Mrs. Anderson knelt between their wheelchairs, genuinely engaging them in conversation about their dance and therapy progress. My father-in-law stepped forward, tears in his eyes. Unlike Marie, he had always shown love to the twins, though he had never stood up to his wife's discrimination. Until now. "Marie," he said, his voice carrying in the sudden quiet. "These are our grandchildren. It's time you saw them for who they are, not what you think they should be." The crowd parted as Emma and Ethan rolled forward, stopping in front of their grandmother. Emma reached into her wheelchair pocket and pulled out the handmade card they had created. "Happy anniversary, Grandma," she said softly. "We made this for you." Mary's hands trembled as she took the card. She opened it, reading the careful handwriting, tracing the lovingly drawn hearts. For the first time, I saw her perfect facade crack completely. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I've been so wrong." The party transformed into something far more meaningful than a simple anniversary celebration. Emma and Ethan's wheelchair dance became the highlight of the evening, their practiced movements drawing both tears and applause from the guests. They spun and twirled, their decorated wheelchairs catching the light, proving that disability didn't mean inability. Mary sat in the front row, her perfectly composed mask completely shattered. She watched her grandchildren perform with new eyes, perhaps finally seeing them as they truly were, not burdens or embarrassments, but children full of life, love, and determination. After their performance, Mrs. Anderson took the microphone. "Tonight was supposed to be about honoring a long marriage," she began, "but instead it's become about something even more important, learning to open our hearts and minds to the beauty in our differences." She turned to Marie. "Mrs. Mitchell, your position on our board was meant to represent acceptance and understanding. While recent events have shown us that wasn't the case, tonight has given us hope that people can change and that love can overcome prejudice." Marie stood slowly, her hands shaking as she approached the microphone. The room fell silent. "I spent so many years worried about appearances," she said, her voice trembling, "about what others would think. In doing so, I missed what was right in front of me, the courage, the determination, and the pure joy my grandchildren bring to this world." She turned to Emma and Ethan. "I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I promise to spend every day trying to be the grandmother you deserve." Emma rolled forward, taking her grandmother's hand. "We love you, Grandma," she said simply. "That's why we wanted to dance for you." The following weeks brought real change. Marie resigned from the foundation's board, but not before working with Mrs. Anderson to establish a new program supporting families with disabled children. She threw herself into learning about cerebral palsy, attending the twins' therapy sessions, and truly understanding their challenges and triumphs. One afternoon, I found her sitting with Emma, patiently helping her practice her writing. The same handwriting she had once criticized as messy and inappropriate was now a source of pride as Emma carefully formed each letter. "Look, Grandma," Emma exclaimed, holding up her work. "I wrote your name." Marie hugged her tightly, tears in her eyes. "It's beautiful, sweetheart, just like you." Ethan experienced a similar transformation in his relationship with his grandmother. Marie learned to celebrate his achievements, like when he managed to stand unassisted for 30 seconds, with genuine enthusiasm rather than forced politeness. The country club, once a source of shame for Marie, became a regular meeting spot for a support group she helped organize for families with disabled children. The same friend she had once been so desperate to impress now joined her in advocating for better accessibility and understanding. 6 months after the party, we held another celebration, this time for the twins' 9th birthday. Marie insisted on hosting it at the country club, complete with wheelchair-accessible games and activities for all the guests. As I watched her interact with Emma and Ethan, helping them blow out their candles and open presents, Lisa came to stand beside me. "Quite a change, isn't it?" she said, smiling. "Who would have thought that midnight news report would lead to this?" I nodded, remembering the panic in Marie's voice that night. Sometimes people need a wake-up call to see their own prejudices. "You know," Lisa added, "Mom told me yesterday that those therapy sessions she's been attending, they're not just about understanding the twins. She's working through her own issues, confronting why she was so focused on appearances." The party wound down as evening approached. Emma and Ethan were surrounded by friends, both wheelchair users and non-wheelchair users, all playing together without a hint of the discrimination their grandmother had once feared. Marie approached me as I was packing up decorations. "Jessica," she said softly, "I know I can never fully make up for how I treated them, how I treated you. But thank you for not giving up on me, for giving me the chance to learn and grow." I hugged her, something I hadn't done in years. "That's what family does," I replied. "We give each other chances to be better." As we drove home that evening, Emma and Ethan chattered excitedly about their party. I caught Michael's eye. He smiled, reaching for my hand. "You know," he said, "when you planned that midnight revelation, I was worried it would destroy our family. Instead, it made us stronger." Looking in the rearview mirror at our children, their faces glowing with happiness, their wheelchairs decorated with birthday streamers, I knew he was right. Sometimes it takes a moment of complete breakdown to build something better, stronger, and more beautiful than before. Mary's journey from rejection to acceptance wasn't just about learning to love her grandchildren as they were. It was about understanding that family isn't about perfect appearances or meeting societal expectations. It's about love, acceptance, and the willingness to grow and change together. The twins still have their challenges, but now they face them with their grandmother's genuine support and understanding. And every time I see Marie patiently helping them practice their exercises or proudly showing off their achievements to her friends, I'm reminded that it's never too late to open your heart and change your perspective. Sometimes the hardest call to make is the one that forces people to confront their own prejudices. But as our family learned, it can also be the most important call of all.